Hello, dear beloveds, don't mind me. I'm just trying to get in my seat and it's not working. It's all right. Really should have done this like before I sat down. I'll get comfortable and then we can begin. Hi, so good to be here. I realized I haven't been live. I've sort of given myself a bit of a social media hiatus over the summertime, except for everything to do with the fires, and I realized it is Tuesday and I love Intentional Tuesday, and I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who have been posting and sharing in the group. While I have been less active, it is a community. It's not actually meant to be all me doing all the things, and so much of the quality of what you're sharing is just, or as always, so beautiful and so profound. But today I do love this day. I love being intentional in my own life. I love reviewing my intentions for my life. I have lots of different systems in place to do that. But today I want to talk about some of the big ones for me for 2020 and how nearly a month into the year I am absolutely, keeping my eye, my heart, my whole being attuned to my intentions. And for those of you who know me, nothing that I'm sharing today is going to be new, but I think the point of this idea that I'm going to share is that it shouldn't become a fad that you pick up and put down. It needs to be every damn day. It needs to be integrated into your devotion. It needs to be part of your being, because otherwise we are creating from a really superficial place. So the first thing to know, of course, is the way that I create reality has nothing to do with my ideas, but God's ideas for me. So I make sure that I am an open and clear channel for what God wants for my life. I am God's servant in this world. My path is determined by that relationship, which is primary. None of what I'm sharing with you today is about trying to figure out from an egoic 3D perspective how you stay attuned to your intentions, because they're not going to work. If your intentions are based on getting your ego's needs met, inevitably those intentions are going to show you how superficial they are, and they're going to fall out of your life really quickly. So that's just a caveat. I'm not talking about anything about getting your ego's needs met. I'm talking about how do I stay attuned to the intention God has for my life. So the first thing is to get really clear so that God can show me what that intention is. And, that is the work of my life. That is every damn day. That isn't something you can do on New Year's Eve and then every full moon and forget about in between. And for me, the way that I do that is I be congruent between my faith and my actions. So I have to be the demonstration of my faith. I show up to my devotion. I live a life that suits the path of the mystic. I use my body as the sacred temple, and I make sure that it's ready to receive that divine download whenever it's going to come. So that all is sort of a precursor to what I want to talk about today. But there's a good chance that you, if you're in this group, have created intentions for your year or your life that have come from that God-centric place, that you have really opened yourself to letting God lead. And it may not be that there's specific objectives or goals or, physical reality aims, because mine rarely are, but rather that you've made intentions for how you want to live, how you want to feel, and how you want to be in the world. And that's exactly what a great intention is, because everything comes from that. Yeah. So when we are being the demonstration of our faith, we don't have to worry about the details, because God's taking care of that for us. We just have to take the action when God asks us to. And 2020 has kicked off with some pretty big action taking on my behalf, which, even though it's huge stuff in my life, it has not been scary or intimidating at all, because I have felt my readiness for it, because I have been preparing for whatever God wants through my daily devotion. Are you understanding? It's day, every damn day. The life you live today is the life you live. And we can't look at intention setting as something we do at one day of the year or one time in the cycle of the moon per month and then forget about it. The life you live today is the life you live. Not my words, but I have been unsuccessful in finding out where those words have come from, so my apologies for that. So what do I do? What do you do, Ricky? How do you keep yourself attuned to the intentions, and what are those intentions? So I'm working with 3 at the moment, and they kind of evolve and change, but they have been derived in part from the work of gorgeous Joe Dispenza, but really using his idea of how we impress the subconscious, because there's no point talking to your subconscious in words. The subconscious is symbolic. It works on that fourth dimension, which is feeling, emotion, and symbol. So you need to communicate with your subconscious, which is the place that creates your reality, in the language that it understands. There's no point, using words that are empty and meaningless. We understand this. We've talked a lot. Everybody talks a lot about the idea that it isn't the thought that you're having, but it's the emotion that informs that thought that's going to create the reality. So I'm working with 3, I guess, intentions or energetic states of being that I want to live from. And the first is, it's going to sound a bit strange as I say it, but I'll explain it to you. Problem resolved. Now in Joe's work, this is represented by the letter P. So P is a symbol. So that symbol I assign meaning to, and that symbol impresses my subconscious, and then I can move into a state that is attuned to problem resolved instantly. Now, what problem are we resolving here? Well, I've been working with specific things that have felt like problems, and I keep holding the highest possible potential, not by seeing how that situation should resolve itself, but rather holding the possibility that the problem is resolved. I don't need to know how. It's not my agenda, it's God's agenda. But I have to be the vessel that is holding the vibration that allows the possibility that the problem is resolved to land in me. So I'm holding the intention that all possible things that I perceive as problems, as they arrive in my consciousness, are resolved. So you see, so my intention is to live in a state of problem resolvedness. And I do that by impressing my subconscious, by conjuring that letter P into my imagination. And I do this every day in my morning meditation. That's the first place. I will spend 20 minutes in meditation, conjuring up that letter, feeling how good it feels that the problem is resolved. What does that feel like? It feels like bliss. It feels like peace. It feels like joy. It feels like freedom. It feels like opportunity. It feels like wonder. And I conjure up that feeling in my meditation. You could do that through heart congruence. You could do it in any way you like, but I'm not doing it through seeing how I believe the problem should be resolved. Do you see the difference here? My intention has nothing to do, remember our challenge from last year of making God my bitch and telling God how to do God's job. My job is to hold myself in a vibration that is a match with what I'm seeking. And I do that by impressing the subconscious. Yes? So there we go. That's the first phase of that. The second intention that I'm working with is opportunity. And opportunity, I use this symbol of the O to conjure into my imagination that which, into my subconscious, I should say, that which will elucidate that feeling. Give me 1 minute. There's just someone at my door. I just have to see who it is. Just, entertain yourself for a minute. I'm back. So opportunity. And once again, I'm not sitting down making a list of what I think the opportunities God should bring me are. It's not my job to tell God, but what I want to experience this year is a sense of expansion, a sense of opening. I want things to arrive unexpectedly, miraculously, joyfully, easily, gracefully into my life that will expand my opportunity to be that demonstration of God's power in the world. So you see how I am, once again, I'm not setting actual specific goals like I will give a TED talk, everyone will buy my book, this will happen, that will happen. Because if I was to do that, I would shut down the possibility of the opportunity in its fullest expression landing in my life. And it might be so much bigger, so much more glorious, and so much more different to what I anticipate it is. The final one is abundance. And abundance is symbolized by the letter A. So once again, I spend at least 20 minutes in my morning practice each morning conjuring up the feelings of abundance. Once again, they're very similar words for me. All of these fit together beautifully in that sense of freedom, expansion, openness, wonder, joy, ease, grace. And I spend time cultivating that feeling state so that my body, my being, my mind can be brought into congruence with what I want to receive. So I am not instructing God on how that abundance should look, how it's, sounds, when it's coming, who's bringing it. I'm not getting involved in the 3D level of this because nothing is created at the level of the dream. Everything is created at the level of pure consciousness. So my job is to train my consciousness via my subconscious, which is the part of us that creates, to be attuned to the reality that I want to live. So I recommend, if you have a copy of Becoming Supernatural, which is where this part of this practice is drawn from, that you bring it out and look for that practice. He doesn't have a guided version of it, but this is really an adaptation of a lot of different practices, and you can use whatever symbol works for you. So if the image of a beautiful ancient oak tree was your symbol for spiritual wisdom or mystical experience or health or whatever it is, then you would conjure up the image of the oak tree. If, you know, a pool by the ocean in Bali is a symbol of abundance for you, then you would conjure up that image. Now, you're not saying, take me to Bali and to that pool. You're conjuring up the feeling state, and the feeling is the prayer, so says Greg Braden. So we're allowing ourselves to become the vessel for what God wants without telling God what that is. But here's the thing. When you are called to take action, you take action. When you feel that divine inspiration land, you can't say, oh, yes, but God, I wanted abundance, but I don't, oh, no, I don't want to do the hard thing you just asked me to do. And I wanted the feeling of joy and peace and problem resolved, but I don't actually want to do the work that you're asking me to do on that. So you've got to be willing to take the action. So part of my morning devotion is not just to conjure up these really beautiful feeling states, but as I'm conjuring them, what happens when I get afraid, if it feels like it's not possible, or if I go into doubt, or I feel lack, or I'm, you know, conjuring abundance and I feel lack, there's a disconnect. That is it's a mismatched signal going out into the field, and I need to resolve that. So I will spend time tapping. I'll stop my meditation, I'll stop whatever I'm doing, and I will go into, and I just work with intuitive intelligence tapping as we teach in the 3rd level. I release all my emotional attachment to this feeling of lack. And I'll just see what's up underneath that. I release all my emotional attachment to my feeling that I don't have what it takes to bring God's vision into the world. And I'll just keep working with this very simple process, tapping on the side of the hand here with 2 fingers in that fleshy patty part of my hand, and just feeling intuitively the layers as they present themselves until I feel that's resolved. When I feel like I'm ready to go back into my conjuring up of the intention that I want for my life because the fear has been met, then I'll continue with that process. How often do I do this? Every damn day. So my life feels very intentional and on purpose because I show up every day to make sure that I am energetically congruent. I'm a vibrational match for what I want to be living in. I do not tell God how to do God's job, and I make sure that my actions are congruent with my faith. And when God calls me to take action, I mean, some of the things that I've been asked to do, even in the last few weeks, are so huge and so life-changing. I have barely managed to wrap my head around them, but I have not said no to God. And I have no doubt that even if I do not fully understand right now, that these things that I'm being asked to do are going to take me closer to the intentions that I hold for my life. So I invite you to get really honest with yourself about, you know, if you hold an intention for your life, or you feel like you want to hold a really big intention for your life, are you actually doing the damn work? Or are you saying, oh, well, you know, God will take care of that? There's a difference between absolute trust and total apathy. And the latter is not going to get you where you want to go. If you want the life that God wants for you, you have to be the vessel that can contain that vision. And that is just the way it is. There's no way around that. So look to where you are, you know, trying to take the easy path, where you want to stay in your comfort zone, where you would prefer to have all the things but not do the work to get to those things. And instead of becoming obsessed with the outcome and the goals according to your ego's desires, become completely obsessed with doing the work of conjuring the feeling state. Because here's the beautiful part of all of this. Ultimately, the feeling state is all you are after. And the more time you spend in this congruence, the more your life will be bliss, no matter what is happening on the outside. All my love. It is my privilege now and always to serve you.